Security will escort you out. That's all he said after 25 years of loyalty. My ID badge still hung around my neck. My mug, the one that said "World's Most Reliable," was still half full on my desk. I'd trained half that office, survived 3 CEOs, 2 mergers, and a recession. But none of that mattered the day Mr. Holt decided I was too old, too expensive, and too replaceable. As I walked past the reception I'd built from nothing, every smile vanished, replaced by pity. My chest felt hollow, but my mind razor sharp. Because what he didn't know was that I kept records. Every file, every deal, every shady shortcut he'd ever signed. And in less than a month, those records would start talking louder than he ever did. You don't forget the smell of the office on the day your life collapses. Coffee, printer ink, expensive cologne from a man who never lifted a finger. I'd been with Holt Financial Group since I was 21. I'd built their client lists, designed their filing system, even trained my boss's son when he couldn't tell a ledger from a lunch menu. 25 years of loyalty. Gone in a single meeting. "Nevaeh," Mr. Holt said, smiling with that fake warmth that always meant bad news. "This isn't personal. It's just restructuring." He said restructuring like it was mercy, not betrayal. I looked at the paper he slid across the desk. A termination agreement and a severance that wouldn't even cover 6 months of rent. "After 25 years. I whispered. He sighed, pretending to be sympathetic. "You've had a good run. But we need new energy. The clients prefer younger faces now. Younger faces, cheaper salaries, disposable loyalty." He gestured toward the door. "Security will escort you out." And that was it. No thank you, no farewell lunch, not even a handshake. Just an order to vanish. As I walked past the cubicles, people lowered their heads. No one spoke. My desk was already cleared. My photos in a box, my mug missing. The silence was worse than any goodbye. I left the building in a daze. Outside, the sunlight hit my eyes like punishment. 25 years of my life, packed into a cardboard box. That evening, I sat in my small apartment surrounded by silence and memories. The clock ticked too loudly. I kept replaying his words. "You've had a good run." A good run was something you said about an athlete who just lost a race. Not a woman who kept your company afloat through recessions. Checked my phone. One message blinked. From an old client, Mr. Jenkins. "Nevaeh, I heard you left Holt Financial. Why so sudden? Something's not right over there." My account statements looked different. My hands froze. "Different?" I typed back quickly. "I wouldn't know, Mr. Jenkins. I haven't been there for weeks." His reply came seconds later. "Strange. The new rep said you personally authorized a change in our billing schedule." My heart stopped. Authorized. I hadn't even seen their accounts in months. I opened my laptop, logging into an old email backup. Out of habit, I'd kept personal copies of old records, mostly for client history and training templates. But as I scrolled, something caught my eye. Recent emails forwarded from my address. Except I hadn't sent them. They were signed Best Nevaeh. Someone was using my name. I leaned back in my chair, pulse pounding. Maybe my firing wasn't just restructuring. Maybe it was erasure. Outside, thunder rolled across the city. And for the first time since walking out of that building, I didn't feel broken. Felt alert. Because if Mr. Holt thought he'd buried me quietly, he was about to learn how loud the truth can be. The next morning my phone wouldn't stop ringing. 3 missed calls, 2 voicemails, all from former clients. "Nevaeh, did you approve this new service fee? Why are my statements missing signatures? Who's handling my account now?" Each voice carried the same tone, confusion mixed with suspicion. By noon, my inbox filled with forwarded messages showing new invoices. But the letterhead looked wrong, the company logo slightly distorted, the dates inconsistent. Whoever was sending them didn't know the system the way I did. I printed everything and spread it across my kitchen table. The patterns were clear. Inflated charges, missing transaction IDs, And electronic authorizations all signed N. Carter. That was my employee ID. My breath caught. They were using my credentials to cover up something bigger. Then I noticed one recurring name across all Alta documents. Holt Adjustments Department, private. That department didn't exist. I felt my stomach twist. By evening I called Matteo, the only coworker I still trusted, the quiet IT guy who knew the system better than anyone. "Nevea," he said, surprised. "I was hoping you'd call." He lowered his voice. "I can't talk long. Holt's been acting strange. He told me to delete old backup logs last week. Said they were cluttering the system." Froze. "What kind of logs?" "Transaction records," Matteo said. "But I copied them first." Something didn't sit right. A chill crawled down my spine. "Matteo, do you still have them?" He paused. "Yeah. But if Holt finds out?" "He won't," I said. "Meet me tomorrow. Same cafe we used to go to after audits." That night I couldn't sleep. Every flicker of light from the window looked like headlights, paranoia creeping in. Still, one thing was clear. Holt didn't fire me to save costs. He fired me to silence the one person who could read his ledgers like a confession. And now I was going to read every single one. Matteo arrived with a flash drive the next morning. His eyes darted around the cafe like we were in a spy film. He slid it across the table. "Everything's here. The transfers, the hidden accounts, the fake vendor names. Holt's laundering money through clients." I plugged the drive into my laptop. The files loaded slowly, hundreds of spreadsheets and emails. The deeper I scrolled, the sicker I felt. There it was. A column labeled Adjustment Approval with my digital signature beside transactions I'd never seen. Dozens of them. Some worth hundreds, others tens of thousands. "He's using me as a ghost approver," I whispered. Matteo nodded grimly. "And if the authorities catch on, it'll look like you did it." I leaned back, cold spreading through my chest. "He's setting me up." He hesitated, then added, "There's more. Your pension file's gone." "What?" He opened another folder. "Holt changed the internal employee system last month. He moved long-term benefits under a retirement restructuring plan. Your name isn't listed anymore." The world tilted sideways. So he stole my job and my future. Matteo clenched his jaw. "We can expose him. But we need to act fast. He's transferring assets to a new shell company, ALT Global Ventures. It goes live Friday." "Friday," I repeated. "Then we don't have much time." That night, I opened the old client records on my computer. I highlighted every transaction that linked to HLT Global. Dozens of clients. Millions of dollars. And one invoice stood out. $890,000 billed to a retired widow named Margaret Dawson, one of my oldest clients. That was my breaking point. He wasn't just greedy. He was cruel. I sat in the dark, the glow of the screen lighting my face, and whispered, "All right, Holt. You want to erase me. Let's see how you handle becoming invisible yourself." Nevea and Matteo devise a plan to expose Holt, but first they must survive his digital counterattack. We met in secret that week, always in public places, laptops hidden in plain sight. Matteo had built a private server to track Holt's transactions. Every night we watched money vanish into offshore accounts like magic. "He's preparing for a full exit," Matteo said. "He's going to fake bankruptcy, move the funds, and vanish." "Not if we burn the map before he leaves," I replied. We divided the plan into 3 steps. Keycap 1, gather proof. Keycap 2, leak the data to key clients. Keycap 3, forward everything to the press. But Holt was getting nervous. He started sending IT memos about security audits and insider threats. Then one evening my email pinged. From HR department. Subject: unauthorized system activity traced to your name. My blood ran cold. He knew. Called Matteo. "They're on to us." He was silent for a moment. "Nevea. They tried to access my server today. Someone's watching both of us. That night we wiped our devices clean, backing everything to encrypted drives. But the fear stayed. Still I couldn't stop. Not after what he'd done to Margaret, to me, to everyone who trusted him. On Thursday night Matteo called. Tomorrow's the day. He's transferring everything at 9 a.m. Once it's done, the money's gone. Took a breath. Then at 8:59 we end him. At dawn, I sat by my window with coffee and courage. Emails drafted. Files attached. A list of every major client ready to receive accidental truth. Each email began with the same line. We recently discovered inconsistencies in your financial reports. Please review attached proof. At 8:30 I hit send all. By 8:45 phones across the city started ringing. Holt's empire was shaking. But at 8:50 a new email arrived, from my old company account. Subject: Legal notice for defamation and breach of confidentiality. Asterisk asterisk. From Mr. Holt. Asterisk asterisk. He was fast. Then another message came, this one from an unknown number. Nice try, Nevea. But you don't know who owns HLT Global. My heart stuttered. I clicked the attachment. A document loaded, listing the registered partner for HLT Global. It wasn't Holt. It was Matteo. For a moment I couldn't breathe. Called him immediately. What is this? He sighed. Nevea. I had to put my name there to get the data. It's temporary. You have to trust me. But the hesitation in his voice made me doubt everything. By 9 a.m. the company servers went offline. Holt's accounts were frozen, but so was Matteo's line. I was on my own. The next 24 hours were chaos. News spread that Holt Financial was under investigation. But Holt himself, his office empty, his phone disconnected. Matteo's silence scared me more than Holt's threats. I called his sister. Have you heard from him? No, she said. He left yesterday morning and never came home. That's when I knew. Holt must have found out. I sat in my apartment surrounded by documents and fear. Every file I'd saved, every number I'd memorized, was now a loaded weapon. Midnight I made my choice. I opened a secure channel and sent everything, spreadsheets, emails, contracts, to a journalist I once met during a corporate seminar. Her name was Aria Lorne. She specialized in financial crime exposés. Then I wrote one line at the end of my message. If anything happens to me, release it all. The next morning, the headline hit like thunder. Holt Financial under fire for client fraud. Whistleblower evidence leaked. Phones rang, reporters camped outside the building. And within hours, 70% of Holt's clients closed their accounts. He'd stolen millions, but I stole his empire. The headline spread like wildfire. Financial giant collapses overnight. CEO missing amid fraud scandal. Whistleblower shakes banking sector. I sat on my couch, coffee in hand, watching the empire that once owned me crumble across every news channel. My name wasn't mentioned, just an anonymous insider. That anonymity was my armor. By noon, my phone buzzed with messages from people I hadn't spoken to in years. Old coworkers, clients, even reporters pretending to be concerned friends. But one text stopped me cold. Unknown. We need to talk. 5 p.m. Harbor Cafe. Come alone. Till. I hesitated for hours, pacing the apartment like a caged animal. What if it was a trap? But if there was even a chance Matteo was alive, I had to go. The sky was turning amber when I reached the cafe by the docks. The salty wind carried whispers of rain. He was already there, sitting by the window, hoodie pulled low. He looked pale, thinner, his hands trembling around a cup of untouched coffee. Matteo, I whispered. He looked up, eyes rimmed red. You shouldn't have sent those files, Nevea. He's coming for you now. Who? He leaned closer. Holt's not gone. He's hiding offshore. He's got money stashed in Cayman accounts under different names. He found out you went to Arya Lorne. He wants revenge. I swallowed hard. Then why are you still helping him? He shook his head violently. I'm not. I was trying to protect us. I put my name on HLT Global to monitor him. But when you leaked the data, he blamed me too. He thinks we set him up together. The words came out like a flood. So what now? Matteo exhaled. Now we finish it. I know where his final transfer is going. It's his personal escape fund. If we expose that, there's no coming back for him. He handed me a small USB. Everything's here, account numbers, offshore transfers, fake IDs. You release this, and Holt's done forever. I stared at the drive. And you? He gave a broken smile. I'll disappear. My name's already burned. But you deserve to walk free. Before I could reply, a dark car screeched to a stop outside. Two men in suits stepped out, scanning the cafe. Matteo's face went white. Go, he hissed. Now! I grabbed the USB and bolted through the back exit, the sound of heavy footsteps echoing behind me. Rain hit my face as I sprinted down the alley, clutching the drive like my last heartbeat. I ducked behind a dumpster, watching the men search the street. I waited until their voices faded before I ran, faster than I ever had in my life. By the time I got home, my clothes were soaked, my hands shaking. But the USB was safe. And with it, Holt's last secret. I didn't sleep that night. I just stared at the tiny silver drive on my table, something so small it could destroy a man worth millions. By sunrise, I opened my laptop and drafted one last email to Arya Lorne. This is everything. Offshore accounts, false identities, and proof of tax evasion. Publish it when you're sure. Then I hit send. By noon, the story exploded again. Holt Financial CEO laundered $72 million through shell companies. Authorities launch international arrest warrant. It was over. Clients withdrew completely. The board resigned. And for the first time, the name Holt Financial became a warning, not a brand. But while the world celebrated justice, my phone rang again. An unfamiliar number. Hello. Silence. Then a familiar voice. Did you think you could bury me, Nevaeh? Holt. My blood turned to ice. You're finished, Holt. The world knows. He chuckled, calm, controlled. You don't understand power. You think headlines matter. I have lawyers, allies, friends in places you've never heard of. I'll rebuild. Not this time. Be careful, Nevaeh, he said softly. Accidents happen. And people who dig too deep tend to disappear. The line went dead. I sat there shaking, the weight of his words pressing down like a hand around my throat. But fear didn't feel the same anymore. Because fear is power when you choose to use it. Called Arya. He's threatening me. Her voice was firm. Then let's make him irrelevant before he can move. 2 days later, she released a follow-up, audio recordings. The clips were from internal meetings years ago. Holt instructing employees to falsify statements. His own voice sealed his fate. Interpol confirmed the arrest. He was caught in Malta, trying to flee using a fake passport. When I saw his mugshot on the evening news, I didn't cheer. I just exhaled. 25 years of silence leaving my lungs at last. I looked at my reflection in the black TV screen. You fired me, Holt, I whispered. But I'm the one who ended your career. That night, I slept peacefully for the first time in months. The courtroom smelled of paper, polish, and panic. Holt sat at the defense table in an orange jumpsuit. His once slick hair now gray and limp. Cameras flashed outside. Journalists filled every seat. When my name was called, I took the stand. The prosecutor smiled reassuringly. Ms. Carter, can you tell the court why you were terminated from Holt Financial? I steadied my voice. Because I was the only one who knew where the skeletons were buried. Laughter rippled through the room, but I wasn't joking. I told them everything. How Holt used me as a scapegoat, how he forged my signature, how he stole from widows and retirees to fund his luxury lifestyle. The defense tried to rattle me. Isn't it true you acted out of revenge? I looked straight at Holt. No, I acted out of survival. The judge nodded, impressed. When it was Holt's turn to speak, he tried to charm his way out. The same smirk, the same arrogance. She's bitter. Fired employees always look for someone to blame. I leaned forward, eyes locked on him. Then explain why your voice is on those recordings. He froze. The courtroom gasped. By the end of the day, the verdict was clear. Guilty on all counts. 15 years in prison. When they escorted him out, he turned once. That familiar look of superiority gone, replaced by disbelief. It was over. After the trial, reporters crowded me. Ms. Carter, how does it feel to be vindicated? I smiled faintly. Vindicated isn't the right word. I just told the truth louder than the lies. 6 months later, I stood in front of a small glass office with my name on the door. Integrity Solutions. Ethical Financial Consulting. Inside, a handful of young analysts worked at their desks, each one someone Holt would have called inexperienced. But they were sharp, kind, and honest, 3 qualities he never valued. I built the company on everything he ignored: transparency, loyalty, and fairness. And the irony: most of my first clients were the ones who'd left him. 70% of Holt's client base came to me. Not out of revenge, but because trust, once broken, doesn't rebuild itself. Daniel Jenkins, my first boss back in the early days, visited one afternoon. You've come full circle, Nevaeh, he said. You turned survival into strength. Smiled. No, I turned betrayal into business. That night, as the office lights dimmed, I walked to the window overlooking the city skyline. Below, Holt Financial's old headquarters still sat empty, a monument to greed. The logo was gone, the windows dark. I whispered, "You said I was replaceable, Holt. Looks like your clients disagreed." I closed the blinds, turned off the lights, and locked the door to my new beginning. Because sometimes revenge isn't loud. It's quiet, measured, and it shows up on the balance sheet. I gave him 25 years of loyalty. He gave me one lesson: never let someone else own your worth. Speech balloon: what would you do if your boss fired you after decades of loyalty? Red heart, like thought balloon. Comment your thoughts. And bell subscribe for more cinematic revenge stories like Nevaeh's.